Hello everybody and welcome to this session. My name is Rajesh Mehta and I'm part of the team here at ElegantJ BI, and with me is Pooja Shah, and we're going to do a small session which will allow you to connect ElegantJ BI to various data sources. So for this particular session, what we are going to do is we're going to give you a quick review about what exactly we mean by when we say connect to the database. So say this is a quick slide which shows how difficult usually it is to get data from different sources. So you have multiple data sources like from SAP, you can have the Microsoft Dynamics, you can have Tally. Elegant JBI offers connectors which will allow you to connect to any of these databases, including CSV, and from there you can build your own aggregated data cube which can be used for analytics. So this is the broad structure of how it would work. So on your left hand side you can see different data sources. Now from these data sources you can connect Elegant JPI, and based on how you have structured the aggregation system you can build a R cube which would be from an R server. You can build an MDX cube, you can build a cache cube, or you can build a real-time cube, which is basically pulling data almost on real time. From that, the data is pushed into Elegant API, which is a complete engine which will allow you to run analytics, and which in turn you can use to build dashboards that you can view in a web browser, a mobile device, or a tablet. And as you would be aware that Elegant JBI being responsive and adaptive in its final presentation layer, you don't need any mobile apps to see the data. So once you design for a desktop or on a desktop, you can see the data in any device. So this is the broad structure of how this works. So what we are going to do today is we're going to handle two components. One is the CSV part. So we're going to take a CSV file, a demo CSV file, and we're going to build an elegant JPI cache cube, and from there we will build an analytics which can be viewed in the browser here. Then we will basically connect an RDBMS, which we have at the moment put in another application category. We will connect to an SQL Server database, and from that, it's the same data as it is in the CSV. We will bring that data into a cache queue, and from there we will build a quick analysis. So this will give you a picture of how easy it is to connect to Elegant JPI. Now, what it means for you is that what it becomes possible. If you have downloaded the eval version, you can immediately start connecting to data and building small analytics for yourself and kind of present it to whoever you like to present to. If you are already using Elegant JPI, this will give you an insight, and Pooja is an expert on the product, so you can ask questions and we can answer about anything which you would need to connect to Elegant JPI. So one final point about what we are. So Elegant JPI is quite an old product, and it's being used by a large number of organizations across the globe. There are a number of large customers as well as small customers in India who have been using the product successfully. It stands and differentiates itself in terms of its speed of implementation, its ease of use, and the way it scales up as you add users. So what the larger users, can be to 2,000, 1,500 users. We also have companies who are using 25 users. So this is basically what the company is. But this is what we are going to do today. So before we start, I'm going to go to this section, which is no, we are not going to go there. So Pooja, where do we go from here? Okay, we have to shut this down. All right. Okay. So then we go to my browser. Okay, here we are. Okay, so this is basically uh, the we have logged into Elegant API. So what we're going to do is that we're going to log out, and then I just want to quickly review the structure of the repository before we go into connecting to a database. So just Pooja is going to quickly log in. So yeah, so just let me give you an idea as to what we are looking at. This is the a repository. So usually you land up with a dashboard, but we have logged in and we are into the the admin part. So this is where the data objects are stored. And what we are going to do is that we are going to go into the administration section, which is the arrow key next to the home button, and you click it to the administration section, and that's where you start building a data connection. So it goes in two parts. You define a data source, and then you kind of connect it to a queue. So these are the two stages which Pooja will go take you through, and we will start with the CSV. So yeah, over to you, Pooja. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Rajesh. Now, our today's agenda is to create a queue. Basically, one is from the CSV file and other is to create it from a data source. So let's first, now here as you can see under data source, we have the provision to create profiles from database, CSV, MDX, RScript and SAP profiles. Now to begin with, first let's create a database profile. Now here you can see we can add a database profile. I'm clicking on this plus sign wherein these are the predefined drivers that are installed in ElegantJ BI. So we have connectors for JDBC, ODBC driver, Oracle driver, SQL Server driver, Sybase, MySQL, and Prism. So we can connect any of these data sources. Now, as of now, to demonstrate, I'm selecting a SQL Server driver. Now, as soon as we select a driver, you can see a database URL is generated here. This is a syntax for it. Now here, under the host name, I am supposed to give the database server name or the IP, database server IP, which is used for connectivity. And my data source denotes the database name. So let me just put the database credentials that I have. Now here my database server IP is 10.0.0.121 and I have a demo database with me which I am connecting and I have to pass the credentials. Yes. Now here we have a provision to write a description also what this data, if you want to brief about why this data source is connected here, what are we going to fetch from this data or from this profile, we can mention it. For example, this is a test or a demo data source. I can mention it. And then I have to give the name to this profile. So I am giving the name as demo GD. And now we'll try connecting to this database. The connection is valid. Now I'll say OK. Now, to the database server that I connected 10.0.0.121 and the database, I can fetch any table or any stored procedure or any data from that particular database. How? I will show you. Now, under cube management, I have an option to create cube. Now, when we select create cube, I have option to create from these or data source profiles. So, I'm selecting database, giving a name as DDQ. Now it will list down me the data source profiles that are coming from database. So I'll select my demo DB profile. I have option of selecting the cube type. As of now, we are creating a cache cube. Cache cube means it will store my data within ElegantJ BI server. Then we have option of query design. We can either paste the query or we have the graphical mode as well. Email notifications, financial year starts from setting. By default, it has been set to April. And then perform aggregation and store drill through data. That is by default checked. Next, so I can, as I had selected page generated query, I'll just write a simple query so as to fetch the data. This is my table having some data in it. Next, now as soon as we do next, Now this was this option of page generated query. Now if we go back and if I select graphical representation, that can also be done. I have demo data, DB data. These are the list of available tables in my data source profile that I selected. I'll select this table, and if I say next, again I have available columns list with me. Okay, so if I select all of my columns and say next, I have option of providing any of the conditions if I want to. For example, if you want to apply any where clause, or if you want to extract any particular data from this particular table, then we can do that. Okay. Let me select all of the columns. Say next. Now, for example, I'm just giving it as not null. Add. Enter the comparison. So now it has redirected me to the same page that it also redirected me in case of page generated query. Now since here all are my cube columns that are available from my select query, now we have option to bifurcate them into dimensions and measures. But one point that we have to take into consideration is the concept of UARS here. UARS denotes unique aggregated result set, meaning whatever are the available columns, all columns may not be required in our reporting. There may be few columns which we only need when we are drilling the data. So, and the report is or the analysis is not created. So we can keep that in my available list. Whereas the dimensions on which I have to create the report, I will bifurcate them into my dimensions quadrant. State, city, employee name, these are my dimensions. Now here sales quantity is a numeric value which on which we would like to do aggregation. So I bifurcate it into a measure quadrant. Cost of goods, list price, sales price, target, employee ID not required. I'll keep it in my available list, and date is my dimension, and gross sales. Now we have few data operations also that we can store in our queue. By default, sum is there. We can store the count of measures, effective count, their minimum max values, and their first and last values. Once these operations are selected, we will have many more on-the-fly operations which are available during our analysis in the reports. Now, there is one option to create a time dimension map. A time dimension map means to create a hierarchy of year, quarter, month, day. So here, now in order to create a time dimension map, the only requirement is to have a date time column in my queue query. So since here we have only one column with the name date, I'm selecting that, giving the name as period. Now we can create a hierarchy till second and selecting it till month, keeping it as financial since my cube is also created on financial year. These are the display names. We can anytime change it. Say OK. OK. So basically, this is how cube creation has started, and we are into phase 2 of aggregation. If in case any custom cube column is there, it will get created, and the fourth is of the unique values phase. So now it is showing me that cube has created successfully. I can click on go to repository. I'll find my demo cube. I can search it here. Cube 1 was the other cube that we created. If I select here, I have a menu which is showing me as cube information. If we click here, it will show me the entire information of the cube, as in from which data source profile it was created, when it was created, what was its last cube rebuild time, whether it is storing drill through data, the number of aggregated records, number of flat records. Now, as you can see, there is a difference between these two. So, which is actually good part. Our aggregation needs to be more and more stronger by having reduced number of aggregated records. It is also showing me the aggregated record size, flat record size, the cube's physical size, the total number of columns in the cube, and this is the unique count for dimension values which I was telling you in the fourth phase. If we select here details, it will show me the unique values of these dimensions. For example, there are 20 different products. There are 5 different states, 9 different product categories, 10 different cities, 19 employees, and 174 dates. Now, as you can see, we can even reduce this. 174 distinct dates means there are some transactional dates. Now, since we are creating a hierarchy up till month, so we are going to monitor the data on monthly basis. So what we can do, we can keep this date in the available column list and we can generate one more date saying monthly date or the start of the month or last day of the month, and we can bifurcate that into a dimension. So it will have even lesser records. So our aggregation will become more powerful. This will yield us faster data. So this was about the database view and data source profile of database.
So we can small cross tab out of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Now let me just create a small crosstab with this cube that I created. So when we say a new crosstab, it will show me the list of the cubes that are available or a user is having access to. From that, I have searched my demo cube 1. Next. Now when I say next, this is the design or the outliner of a crosstab, wherein it has 4 quadrants: the page quadrant, column, row, and data quadrant. The data quadrant will always contain your measures. Page quadrant, if any dimensions are placed here, they will work as filters to the report. Now, and now you can see in the cube columns, there are 3 menus which is showing up. One is of the measures, the other is the dimensions that we bifurcated into the dimension quadrant, and the other one is the period, that is the time dimension map that I created. Now for example, I'll keep my year in the column quadrant, I am keeping my product category here, I am keeping my state in the page quadrant, and one gross sales in the data quadrant, and click OK. So this is how my simple plain crosstab has been generated. We can, now since a hierarchy is created on the year, if I click on year 2014, it will give me drill to quarter of 2014. If I further drill to quarter, it will take me to the months. So this is how drill down is working. And this is the page filter that we have selected. Now, for example, if I click on Florida and say OK, so now my data has been filtered out for Florida. So this was a simple report that a crosstab that we created from a database queue.
okay, Pooja, can we do a poll on what has happened so far?
Yeah, sure.
So you can select a poll about the database.
Yeah, so I'm just releasing a poll, request you all to answer that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so thank you very much. So now what we're going to do quickly is that we're going to connect a CSV file. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, all these objects are stored in the repository, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. So once you build a cube, you can create any object. Like one of the things which Pooja created at the end of the session or what we just finished so far is create a cross tab. So this cross tab can be used again, and you can rename it and store it, and then use it for drill down and multiple dashboards. So now we will connect a CSV file and build a small tabular report.
Yeah. Now, I have one sales demo data with me in CSV. Let me just open it up and show you. Now, here I have a data which is similar to the data that we had in our table from the database. Product category, product name, state, city, employee name, sales quantity, cost of goods, list price, sales price, target, employee ID, date, and the gross sales. Okay, now I'll create a cube from this particular CSV file. Now again we'll go to the admin module. Under admin module, under data source, we'll create a CSV profile. Again I'll click on add. I'll give the name as test CSV. Okay. Now it is asking me to browse the file, the CSV file. So I'll select it. It's there on the desktop. Okay. Now the selected file will by default be moved to this particular location and on the ElegantJ BI server. So that next time it will take this file from this particular location for cube rebuilding. Okay. This is the default path. Now my first row contains the column names. Default encoding is UTF-8. My row separator in case of CSV is new line. My column separator is comma. My text qualifier is double quotes. Now rows to be skipped 0 and fetch size is set to 0, meaning it will take the entire data in one lot. When I click on next, it is by default on its own identifying the columns that are available in my CSV along with their data types. So these are the suggested data types that have appeared. If in case you find that any data type is not correct, there is a drop down wherein you can change it. Okay, I will say OK. Now this my CSV profile has been saved successfully. Now using this profile, we'll create a cube. Again, I'll go to cube management, create cube. Now instead of database, I'll select CSV. I'll give the name as test CSV cube. Now from the drop down, I'll select the profile that we created, test CSV. It's gonna be cache cube. We cannot create real-time cube in case of CSV cubes. Say next. So it is identifying or giving me the available columns present in the CSV. If you click on this plus sign, my all columns get selected. And if you don't want to select all the columns, we can manually select them like this by clicking on each of them. Okay. As of now, I'll select all of them. Say next. Now this has again redirected me to the same page of cube creation wherein it is showing me the available columns from my CSV file, and I have to bifurcate them into dimension. I'll select. We can even select control and select multiple dimensions together. I'll bifurcate the measures. Select the data operations. Okay. Again, I can create a time hierarchy here. I have only one date time column available with me. I'll create it up to month. Financial year starting with April, say okay. So now my cube creation has started again. Now again if we go to cube repository and if I search my test CSV cube, this is the icon that shows that this particular cube is a CSV cube. Again we can click here and see its cube information, the available when it was created. It is created from a CSV profile, last rebuild date, number of aggregated records, flat records, their size, and again the details of the unique counts of the columns. The time dimension map that we are creating, we can, apart from that time dimension map, if we want to create any other drill down hierarchy on the cube, we can also do that. I will select my cube. Under dimensions map, this is the default hierarchy which is appearing when what I created during cube creation. Now I'll add one more. For example, if I click on product category, I want different product names to be displayed. So I'll create the product hierarchy. Okay. Now let's create one more cross tab from this particular cube. When I click on cross tab, again the list of cubes is there. I'll search my CSV cube, say next. Now here you can see one more menu has come, which is showing me the hierarchy of product category. So I'll select product category here. We can also add it from here, in which quadrant we want to add to. Okay, and say okay. So again my cross tab has been generated. Now as we had drill down hierarchy here on the year, now we have created here on the dimension. So if I click on any of the product categories, for example cool drinks, I will find the product names beneath it. That is cola and soda are categorized under the cold drinks. For example ice creams. So this is how a CSV cube can also be generated. Yeah, now again I'm releasing one poll. Request all of you to answer the same.
Okay, so we're waiting for your answers, and you can, if you have any questions, you can start, um, putting them in the chat area, and we will respond. So if there is any question, you're welcome to ask.
Click on that hand.
There is a question which says that is the cube creation API free? Well, you have APIs in ElegantJ BI which allow you to embed any object which has been created in ElegantJ BI and other applications. But per se, I mean, you don't need anything other than what Pooja has demonstrated right now to build a cube. So, I mean, there is no specific API you have to use for building the cube, but you get API from ElegantJ BI which can be embedded in the objects. I hope that answered the question. Okay, and one more poll before we'll close this poll and we will share a new one. So this is important for us to know. If you already have a copy of Elegant JBI, you are already a user, and basically we would like to know if this was useful. And if you have downloaded an eval version, uh, my invitation is to give us a feedback on that. And if you can let us know your status as to where you stand in terms of evaluating or using Elegant JPI, that would be great. So, meanwhile, you can please keep asking questions. Okay, so there is, thank you very much. I mean, there are a number of people who are expecting to download. And so basically, please visit our website, elegantjbi.com. There is a support section which is active there, and you can uh, download our product and start using the eval version. So one last uh, question before we close. So before we actually close, before I launch this final poll, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time and looking at our demonstration. And please share your feedback. Uh, Thank you very much. So we'll wait for your polls, a response to your poll, and then great. Thank you very much. Eh? All right. Have a good evening.